I've had several episodes of malaria.
This year, I got it twice.
Myself, I had malaria, I think it was 3 months ago.
I've had malaria on a number of occasions.
Oh,
I certainly have had malaria. Yes, I've had malaria.
300 to 5 million people are at risk of malaria each year. Nearly 1 million people die a year from it, most of whom are children under the age of 5. 90% of malaria deaths occur in sub-Saharan Africa. This epidemic is something that is hitting people and countries very hard. And while it is a global problem, there are many countries that are still in need of the resources that they need to help combat this terrible disease. Preventative measures such as providing insecticide-treated bed nets are being taken, as well as trying to treat the patients that do develop malaria. There are two main types of malaria medication: artemisinin monotherapies and artemisinin-based combination therapies, also known as ACTs. They both stem from the same natural compound, artemisinin annua. The monotherapies combine the artemisinin with one man-made drug, while the ACTs combine it with several drugs, making it a shorter and more effective treatment. Recently, there's been a push by the World Health Organization, the WHO, to get rid of the monotherapies altogether and use ACTs as the only malaria treatment method. Let's watch a short clip about one of the first countries that switched to using the ACTs.
I was attacked by malaria 4 weeks ago. It was quite a serious attack, such that I was brought at the clinic by my wife. Just like in 1989, the doctor first gave me chloroquine. I didn't get well. Again, he gave me chloroquine. I didn't get well. He gave me chloroquine for 3 times. I was not responding. And then he gave me Fancida and I responded. So from then I've been using Fancida. Again, it has come to prove that Fancida can't work with me because I failed to respond.
Already we had this burden of the incidence and morbidity of malaria really almost choking us. And we knew that chloroquine was not helping us. So wasn't that a waste of money? We decided we would go on to this new drug, Coartem. We would somehow have to find the resources. We may not be able to meet all that we required, but perhaps we would find the resources as a start to show the world that this actually does work.
Coartem was an artemisinin-based drug which could cost up to 40 times more than chloroquine. The Zambian government had to defend its choice.
The criticism was, you don't have the resources. Why do you go for an expensive drug? It was a very difficult time, and we said, look, like anywhere else in the world, governments must take the leadership. It's either you agree with us or you don't. And this is why sometimes we've been looked upon with the suspicion by our colleagues to say, how can you go into the unknown? How sure are you that you're going to succeed? Well, I think really life is about taking risks.
The Zambians called us in the summer and said, hey, this is going too slowly. The malaria season starts at the end of December. Malaria will peak in January, February, March in Zambia. The Coartem hasn't reached us yet. We need it more quickly. So we called up Novartis, and by a triangular collaboration between the drug company, the Zambians, and the Global Fund, we got this product to Zambia quickly.
Today, 28 out of Zambia's 72 districts get ACT. The government aims to use the rest of its 2-year Global Fund grant to scale up delivery to reach all of its health centers with the new drug by the end of 2004.
Zambia is now one of the many countries in sub-Saharan Africa that is using ACTs to treat malaria. One of the main reasons it took countries and pharmaceutical companies a while to switch to the ACTs from the monotherapies was because of the trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights, known as TRIPS, which are regulated by the World Trade Organization, also the WTO. The TRIPS would provide pharmaceutical companies exclusive rights to produce their products for 20 years. This provided incentives for companies to spend time and money researching and developing new medicines. Inevitably, the TRIPS raised the prices of many life-saving drugs, making it more expensive for people and countries that wanted to purchase such medicine. Malaria treatment medication was among the many affected by the TRIPS. In 2001, the Doha Declaration came out and, put simply, stated that if a country was having a national emergency, they could make exceptions to the TRIPS in order to provide what they needed for their people. This then opened the doors for many organizations to start advocating for these countries in need. The WHO was among the first to get involved with their Rollback Malaria Initiative, which went along with the Millennium Development Goal number 6C, which was to cut the number of malaria cases in half by 2015. Rollback Malaria focused on a number of different approaches to combating malaria. One of them was working with pharmaceutical companies in the private sector to switch from producing monotherapies to producing ACTs. Many companies were hesitant at first because they were afraid to leave the protection that they had under the TRIPS. However, there are many benefits to joining the Rollback Malaria program. By connecting the private sector with the public health initiatives, the best of both sides of the market can be obtained. The producers and the consumers will gain because the programs help to match them based on their market needs. One of the other programs under Rollback Malaria was to begin the production of artemisinin annua in Africa to decrease the production costs of malaria treatment medication over time. Here is another clip from an organization called Advanced Bioextracts, who started producing artemisinin in Kenya.
Okay, my name's David Wainaina. I'm the country manager in charge of artemisinin production in Kenya. And my work basically involves looking at the basics and the technicalities behind the artemisia production in Kenya. I do deal with small and large-scale farmers. We go ahead and visit the farmers, and from the farm visits we are establishing whether that's a good farmer or not a good farmer. So if it's a good farmer, then you go ahead and do the contract. It has a very big impact in terms of the field of employment to the small, young, youthful people. It's a source of income to those farmers who have got farms where we are doing artemisia. We have about 300 to 500 million people who are at the threat of malaria disease, which is a very big killer of human beings in the world. So East African Botanicals as a company has got such a big and a huge impact to the local community, to the country as a source of foreign exchange, and even to the world as a source of artemisinin, which is a cure for malaria disease.
While this seems like a good initial idea, there are many unforeseen costs that creep up in the startup process. It can be hard to break into the already existing market when it costs you a little bit more to produce the same goods as everyone else. However, over time, with more technology spillovers from large farms, these smaller, more local companies may have a chance to survive. The rollback malaria programs have made an impact on malaria. However, there is still a lot more progress that needs to be made. For whatever reason, there are still pharmaceutical companies that are choosing to produce the inefficient monotherapies and stay under the protection of the TRIPS. This is having an effect on the fight against malaria. Since the monotherapies consist of the artemisinin combined with one other drug, there is a chance that the malaria parasite can develop a resistance to the man-made drug. By combining the artemisinin with several man-made drugs, like in the ACTs, the chances of the parasite building up that resistance is very small. However, with some people still being treated with the monotherapies, the ACTs won't be as effective in the long run. This issue of why companies are still producing monotherapies can quickly turn into an ethical debate. There are many globalization and human development gains that can be obtained if malaria is successfully defeated. The child mortality rate will decrease, resulting in an increase in human capital for the individuals and for the countries that are facing malaria. Another thing is that the general health will improve for countries as well. If larger pharmaceutical firms start producing their products in African countries, there could be technology spillovers for smaller local companies. This could increase job security and provide better work environments for people. If the ACTs and the preventative measures being taken successfully get rid of the malaria parasite, this will increase human development gains significantly. Eliminating malaria could also be a large step in stimulating the economies of countries that are burdened by this epidemic. While much progress has been made in the fight against malaria, there is still a long way to go. The programs that have been put into place, such as Rollback Malaria, can only do so much without global aid. This is a whole other issue in and of itself. However, the progress that has been made so far is a step in the right direction. With continued help from the WHO and the WTO, malaria medication will soon be affordable to the countries and people who need it the most. This will then lessen the impact that malaria has and begin to provide hope that malaria can be overcome.
N'omutima gwanje gwona haye mama